We're kicking off today with the NXT Great American Bash, and going into the show, few matches held the interest of fans more than Baron Corbin versus Gable Steveson. The match marked the in-ring debut of Steveson close to 2 years after he signed with WWE, but this match didn't go quite as fans had expected. Stepping into the ring with a red Olympic singlet, Steveson held his own against Corbin, and the match wasn't just a flurry of suplexes as many had predicted. The match also went longer than most expected it to be, but in the end, the two spilled to the outside, resulting in the referee calling for a double countout. This non-finish was hardly what the fans in Texas wanted to see, with the decision earning bullshit chants from the crowd, all while Steveson and Corbin continued to brawl. This brawl would only be ended when security was able to get the pair apart, and based on this finish, it seems a rematch, possibly with some kind of stipulation, could be in order. Steveson's career in WWE has been unique, with initial reports stating that he wasn't showing sufficient progress in the ring, but more recent reports noting that he's been excelling in his training. Now the Olympic gold medalist has a match to his name, but do you feel cheated by this double countout draw? Let us know in the comments down below. NXT Great American Bash 2023 also saw Dominik Mysterio retain the North American title, dispatching of former champion Wes Lee, as well as Mustafa Ali. As we previously reported, WWE has plans in place for the Judgment Day to be a part of NXT for at least the next few weeks, and we may already know what's in store next for Dirty Dom. On the kickoff show, Dragon Lee was victorious in an 8-person tag team match, and in a backstage segment, had a confrontation with Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. After an intense face-off between the two, Dominik took some shots at his father Ray, as well as Lee himself, in a clear tease of a feud between the two for the North American title. It was on the July 21st episode of SmackDown that Lee made a surprise appearance in a segment with Rey Mysterio, who was more than happy with the idea of Lee dethroning his son. Dragon Lee is said to have one of the most lucrative contracts in NXT, and WWE clearly has plans for him. And should the Masked Superstar be the one to end the title reign of Dirty Dom? At Backlash 2023, Zelina Vega made an emotional return to Puerto Rico to challenge Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's title, and would prove to be able to hold her own against the Australian. Despite a valiant effort by Vega, who had the entire crowd on her side, this wasn't enough to dethrone Ripley, but the original plans for the match were much different. As Fightful Select reports, the original plan was for Ripley to squash Vega, despite her connection to Puerto Rico, as they wanted to assert Ripley as a dominant champion following her title win in April. Those plans were in place for weeks until Vega was able to impress WWE officials backstage with her on-screen work, eventually considering them to give her a more competitive match. Ripley herself was said to be more than happy with the change, and the pair would have an excellent match that was full of emotions from both Vega and the Puerto Rican crowd. Fightful adds that much of the push Vega's received since Backlash stems from the crowd reaction, so while she couldn't win gold at Backlash, it may be a matter of time before she has a title. Raw news now, as tonight's show will be the go-home episode before SummerSlam, but one name fans won't be seeing is Drew McIntyre. On his show, Dave Meltzer explained that McIntyre will be missing because he'll be in Budapest, Hungary, where he'll be filming a movie. McIntyre only recently returned to WWE programming, but is flexing his performing muscles outside of the ring, but expect Drew to be hungry to dethrone Gunther this weekend at SummerSlam. Speaking of missing superstars, it's been some time since we've seen Matt Riddle on TV, whose feud with Gunther came to an abrupt end at Money in the Bank. As seen in the past, Riddle is no stranger to controversy, and what happens in his personal life often makes headlines, but this isn't the reason for his absence. Recently, a private explicit video of Riddle and his girlfriend Misha Montana surfaced online, but when Ringside News asked, it was confirmed that this isn't the reason for Matt's hiatus. It was also confirmed that Montana's pregnancy isn't the reason either, but rather WWE just has no creative plans for him right now. While Riddle is off TV, he's not out of the ring, as he has been a regular at live events and teamed with Alpha Academy last Saturday to defeat Imperium. Riddle has been a regular presence on Raw until recently, and many fans are hoping to see him return. But what would you like to see next for Riddle? Sound off in the comments. On last week's SmackDown, Rey Mysterio suffered an injury during his match with Santos Escobar, and though it was believed to be at work at first, that isn't the case. It was later clarified that Mysterio's injury is very real and that Escobar was meant to pin Rey clean before this injury, and now more has come to light about what went down. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that contrary to what was believed, Mysterio was not injured during a suicide dive during a commercial break. Instead, Rey was hurt by a move from Escobar earlier in this match, and the dive was an out WWE used to explain why Rey couldn't continue. This is bad news for Escobar, who has a US title match with Austin Theory coming up, and injuring Rey may give WWE second thoughts on pushing him. Rey was said to be knocked silly and dizzy before the dive, but is not believed to be dealing with a concussion, and we're wishing the Masked Legend a full and speedy recovery. More from the Great American Bash now, as last night's event was one of the biggest shows for the Gold brand, but not everyone was given a chance to compete. One notable name who was missing from the show was Cora Jade, and it seems like the former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion is growing increasingly frustrated with her booking. On Twitter, Jade took a not-so-subtle dig at WWE's handling of her, saying that she remembers when she was on an NXT PLE 15 months ago, back in April of last year. Jade is clearly unhappy with her lack of prominent booking, and perhaps someone in WWE is unhappy with her, given that she deleted the tweet and later deleted her entire Twitter account. While Jade did actually compete last October at Halloween Havoc, it's been 15 months since she had a title match at a premium live event, that being Stand and Deliver 2022, where she faced Kayla Ray, Io Sky, and then champion Mandy Rose. There was a time when Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez were drawing comparisons to Sasha Banks and Bayley in NXT, but fans haven't seen much of Jade as of late, and it remains to be seen what WWE has planned, especially after this outburst. Cora Jade wasn't on the Great American Bash show, but Roxanne Perez was, and picked up a monumental victory over Blair Davenport in their Weapons Wild match. In an interview with NXT Exclusive after the match, Perez says that she feels absolutely amazing to get the win, and added that she feels like a prodigy and wildly underestimated. The former NXT Women's Champion went even further, saying that she's the best woman competing in NXT, in some rather bold claims that would seem more suitable for a heel than the face Perez. Roxanne Perez has only been with WWE for a relatively short time, but has done plenty so far. And do you agree that she's the best woman in NXT? Let us know in the comments. And we're ending today with Solo Sikoa, who has proven himself as the imposing enforcer of the bloodline ever since his call-up to the main roster in Cardiff last September. The younger brother of the Usos rarely speaks on WWE programming, and it's a big deal when he does, but given a recent awkward interaction, Sikoa may prefer to keep quiet. In a resurfaced video from the bump, Solo can be seen with Kayla Braxton, who was wearing a matching We Are the Ones shirt, and Solo rather timidly said, "I like your shirt." This rather awkward encounter was quite the break for Sikoa, who is usually as dominant as they come, and Solo should just be grateful this didn't play out in front of a live audience.